So I want to start with kind of some
Just got hot in here.
some Bible verses that I think are important in what we're doing here. So Danielle, can you pop up okay, so I think one of the most important passages in the Bible about the role of the parent as a primary discipler, and really anything on Next Generation Ministries, is Deuteronomy 6:67. Can somebody read that aloud?
And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise.
That's great, thank you. Can you get next verse, Danielle? So in light of that verse, it's interesting. Like I know a guy who just wrote a book on the biblical basis for youth ministry, and the problem with that kind of thing is there's not a lot in the Bible about youth ministry or formal children's ministry, and that doesn't mean it's unbiblical, doesn't mean it's wrong. But biblically, the chief people in this passage and many other passages that are disciplers of the next generation are actually the parents. And I think it's unfortunate that so many ministries kind of try to kind of take over that baton, take the lead in this area. And we want to be very clear. Every year we start by making clear that we believe that parents are the primary disciples of their own children and teens. And so the local church exists to be an encouragement, support to you guys, and then to supplement. So, and that's an important distinction. And if we ever fail at that, let us know, because it's important. You guys are the A team. We're the B team. It's something I emphasize a lot, right? And so what you guys do, and the exhausting work of daily parenting a teen that can, I'm sure, feel like it's meaningless at times. What you guys do in the day-to-day is infinitely more important than what we could ever hope to do on Wednesday nights. And I think that's an important thing to establish. And we do best then when we partner with you guys. So can we go to the next slide? All right, so I want to talk about some emphasis for the coming year. Why don't you just pull them all up, Danielle? So, cool. So, just keep it going until I think that's the last one of it. All right, that's it, cool. So, all right, so some things I want to try to focus on this year. And this actually is something carried over from last year. I think, as kind of George alluded to in his prayer, we just don't have a lot of unchurched people in our youth ministry. And we're thankful for those that we have, but it's interesting because I was an unchurched person that became involved in a youth ministry. And so especially coming from that, it saddens me that we don't have a lot of unchurched people. And I really want to use this year to make inviting and evangelism a bigger push. Last year we trained in evangelism, and I hope the teens kind of have capped a lot of that, but we really want to. I do love a lot of what Glenn did before me, and one of his emphases was that we're the blob, and the blob, like in that movie, it kind of brings everything into itself, and I'd love to have that kind of emphasis that brought in more. And so we're going to try to connect, even while we study the minor prophets and things like that, how we can be bringing people in more. So, and you guys have, if you guys have any thoughts on ways that we can make this more of a, that more part of the culture of inviting and bringing people, because it doesn't happen much. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, maybe it's the type of events. I mean, maybe there's a more of a, you gotta I don't want to say trick them, but you gotta catch them. With something fun, and maybe it's more like percentages. The unreached events could be 90% fun and 10% Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still definitely a focus, but it's more about the kids carrying themselves a certain way during an event. The unchurched or the people that aren't used to it, they can see that there's something different about our kids.
Yeah.
But and it's more about in action versus study. And then once they come to a couple of those or something, maybe they're open to coming to something a little bit more meaty.
That's good. Okay. And so most of our events, we do a monthly event every month, and most of them are very little on teaching of anything. And I think we're very happy. We teach a lot, we go deep, so I don't feel bad about that. We just watch Captain America on second Friday of the month. You know what I mean? But no, that's great. That's a good thought. Anything else?
I'm wondering if you can partner with some of the local schools. I don't know, I know that Liberty had a, there's one Christian group, I forgot the name of the Christian group.
Do they have InterVarsity?
I don't know.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
No, it wasn't that one, it was more, Young Life, maybe?
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
And I was wondering if maybe there might be a way of partnering with, that type of organization. Rather than trying to pull them to us with events, maybe we should.
yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
180 degrees what Daryl said, so we can pull them in, which is good, but we can also maybe partner with some of those local clubs
Yeah.
or find a way to go to where they are. I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if middle schools or high schools would allow certain clubs.
No, they would, if a club already has a presence, then the only thing that you would need to do, or we would need to do, is just
Yeah.
connect with the club, organization, like typically if it's an outdoor thing,
Mm-hmm.
an outside organization,
Yeah,
they make the decision on who's going to be,
Yeah.
leading or connected to them.
Yeah, just maybe as a way of
Yep.
kind of coming to them
Yeah.
and saying, also we do something on Wednesday.
yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because like a generation ago of youth leaders, they would go in to meet their teens in public school and have lunch with them. You can't do that anymore, and for understandable reasons. But yeah, it is a lot trickier with that. I certainly can reach out to. I've met the FCA guy that's over Carroll County, and as well as the I know as well as the Young Life. So I met the Young Life people as well. I think it's a couple, if I remember right. So another thing we're going to try to do more is try to have a more kind of permanent digital presence. So obviously, like I think this is something I'll admit that I failed in actually with.
Yeah, I just want to jump back.
Yeah, go for it.
Another spot that maybe, I don't know if they would be willing, is Boys and Girls Club. That's another spot, they're
Yeah.
probably always looking for community connections, and granted, they have a mission that might not necessarily align specifically with us, but there's always a lot of kids there
Yeah,
that are looking for something.
that's good. I will try to reach out to them this coming.
Aaron Bishop is the director.
Awesome. So I'd say Danielle, write it down, but I'm recording it. So no, that's great. Awesome. So
And my name is Matt Street.
Nice hairstyle, Matt.
That I was gonna say one thing I think that it's interesting, like different youth ministries are doing different things right now in light of COVID. And when we were able to meet, and because we have bigger areas to meet than a lot of youth ministries have, I kind of went to the back in person, and I didn't frankly think it would take 4 months to get to stage 3. And not to say that I don't take it seriously, but because of that, I kind of thought, if we don't do the streaming, if we don't do the Zooms, we don't do everything, people are going to miss out maybe a month or so.
Yeah.
And that did not happen, obviously. And I'll admit that I should have all along allowed some kind of digital presence for that, and I didn't. But now we're trying to kind of amp up that we're going to have a kind of a permanent thing. And so some of the things we're going to talk about later, but like we're going to have, until Sunday school's back, we're going to have a form of virtual Sunday school, which we'll get to more. But even opportunities to do the Zoom. We're going to try to make sure that we connect more, on some of the social media stuff. And with that, actually, George's daughter Violet is helping run the Instagram. So, in consultation with me. So, one other thing we're trying to do that for those whose parents have approved of it exclusively. In the past, I've been a little leery on sending emails to teens and I was encouraged to by a friend that it's really helpful to be able to get them directly the stuff. So we do send probably twice a month. We send email to some of the teens, and I CC all of the leaders that on those, so that I'm never going to send a private email like that to a teen. I just try to be extremely safe as I can be. So, but if your teen has an email address and would benefit from some of those stuff directly sent to them rather than you having to forward it to them or whatever, just let me know what it is. And another thing I do want to I think I failed at this past couple of years is just not being there enough to support your team. So when you guys, like, I know sports activities and stuff like that aren't coming back as much, but when your guys' teams have an activity or something like that that's special to them, please let me know. Something, because I'd love to be there, or Danielle would love to be there to just kind of root them, cheer them on, or be there in any way. So I apologize for not doing that more. So and then another thing I decided to do. So I think that music is something that can shape people a lot. And I think music forms worldview in ways that people don't realize. This isn't to say I'm condemning non-Christian music, but I think that sometimes when you just turn on the Christian radio, you're not always exposed to stuff with the most biblical worldview. You're just kind of exposed by stuff that was written by a producer that knows that it's going to sell. And so I've created a Spotify and Apple Music playlist that kind of expose some of our younger people to some good music that is maybe a little bit more deep and a little more faithful to Scripture, and might really grow them. And so even a lot of the songs actually at least one of the songs from today actually is on those playlists that I've sent out to the teens. So I know some people are listening to that. So anyway, next thing. Why don't you load it all for the next one?
Can I just, while you're
Go for it.
that, I know with Chloe, she really appreciates like text messages.
Okay.
And I get it, like, you don't want to just text by yourself or whatever, but
Danielle would text the girl, but yeah.
yeah, but I just, that, like, for me, I mean, she does email, but
Yeah.
I think, like, she's always texting with her
Yeah.
friends, so, like, that's definitely probably more of
Okay.
a thing for her.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
So, good to know. And we can do both of those. I think that there's things like we'll be sending out some of the Sunday school type lessons we do, or the link to the playlist that probably would be a little bit weirder to do in text. You don't send an extremely long text. I guess that sometimes they do.
Oh, yes, they do.
That's true. I don't know. So anyway, but and I just noticed I'm partnering with parents. And like I said, we are the B team. You guys are the A team. And so we really strive in everything we do to connect home discipleship and youth ministry. For that reason, I know that the car combos are something I type out, and and you guys are busy, and not everybody has the time to do that kind of thing. But we try to make that as just a weekly expression of this is how you can kind of connect it. And you don't have to do that. The important thing is that you're discipling your teens. It doesn't matter what methods you use for that. But we hope the car combos are a tool for it. Even like tonight's message, I just got the information today from Bob and some of the questions. I'll actually be sending you a separate email tomorrow, probably with some car combos based on that if you want to discuss the lesson, but whatever you guys want to do with that. So another important thing with our Area 51 that is different sometimes, unfortunately, with some youth ministries is we strive for culture, and we expect this all the youth leaders. We don't keep secrets in the way that sometimes youth leaders can. We're not going to keep obviously we're not gossiping, but if your teen confides something that you need to know about, something that we're not going to hide that, this is not a safe place we can communicate things and not have that brought to the parents. We that when we will have things like that, we will ask the team to talk to you guys, and we'll go with them if need be. But we just know that it's important that because you're the primary disciplers, we're not going to keep secrets from you guys ever. So that we will strive to pray more regularly for you, and that's one thing I pray pretty regularly for the students, and I need to pray for more regularly for you guys. And another thing that we're going to strive to provide resources and events, even for families. We'll work on doing more of that. And then the last thing, and I really enjoy getting together with some of the dads of the teens. And so any dads here or whatever, or watching the video later, I'd love to treat you to lunch. So just to pray for you as discipleship. Seriously, I'd love to get you lunch. I know you're busy, so
We'll figure it out.
so just let me know if you do it. So. Next page, wifey. And just load them all up. So, okay. So, our to go into what we're going to be doing this year, our first study in the fall is going to be a study on minor prophets, which is probably might strike you as odd. It's not something that's studied a lot. Actually, this was requested by some of the teens. I'd been planning on this like 2 years ago, so it was requested, and I happened to have been thinking through this. And this can be very different. We've been like, for most of the books of the Bible we study, and we try to base most of what we do in deep study and diving into scripture, because I think that needs to be our authority in all things. This shouldn't be Pastor Tony's words of wisdom hour, you know what I mean? The scripture's a lot more wisdom. And so most of the prophets will be 1 week overviews, rather than kind of an in-depth verse by verse thing, to help kind of equip them to understand these books of the Bible that they tend to probably skip. Actually, Obadiah is one of my favorite minor prophets, and it's the least read book of the entire Bible. Do you know that? Obadiah is the least read book of the Bible. So there's a couple that are a little bit longer, like Zechariah we're going to do 2 weeks on, and a couple of books like that, but that's our goal with that. And so our goal with this is to show the kids God's sovereignty and his justice through the minor prophets, which is an important emphasis that they hit on a lot. So the senior high are going to have the interactive messages like they normally have, and the junior high are going to be led discussions. So it's going to be pretty standard fare for those who have been part of this before. So next, any questions about the minor prophets? Okay, go ahead. Stop. So I don't like to reinvent the wheel, and as you can tell, I typically have, in the winters, we typically do a kind of a group study where the senior high and junior high are together. And one of the purposes of that, actually, honestly, is I think that it is really important to have those relationships even between junior high and senior hires. But there are also things that we can cover separate. So we try to have like a 10-week study in the winter where we bring them both together and kind of make it a topical type deal. And this year we're going to do a Christian ethics. It's not going to be college course. It's not going to be one of my seminary ethics courses, but we're going to study kind of the big ethical questions, the big moral questions of our day. So we're going to talk about gay marriage. We're going to talk about abortion. We're going to talk about digital ethics, which is an important thing that's often people don't think about, the ethics of the digital world. And much of this will flow from the parent discussions that we had back in the spring before COVID. It was like right before COVID, right? That wasn't that right before COVID? Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, so most of this is going to flow from stuff that we covered in that kind of thing. A lot of that will. There will be some that, we're going to go about 10 weeks on that. So we hope this will equip them with answers on some tough questions. Actually, we had them submit some questions that they're curious about for the year, and several of those we're not answering in Sunday school because we actually were planning on that with Christian ethics. So it shows how relevant this is. Any questions on Christian ethics? Okay, next. If anybody hasn't gotten, we got some snack things over there, so.
I already got one already.
So you can get another one if you want, so.
No, it's okay.
All right, so a final thing we're gonna do in the spring will be, I think actually it goes through the summer, but wrestling with God. And those who know, we've been studying Genesis in the spring for basically since I've been here. And it takes a while, but actually Genesis is fascinating. Like, 'cause if you actually study the book, it's basically 4 books in one book. It's kind of built in 4 parts. And so we're kind of taking the springs to divide and take each part of those, and we'll finish that in spring of 2022. We'll split again for this, so this will be junior hires one area, senior hires the area. And the teams will, I think, see how God humbles and transforms us through this story largely of Jacob. And I think it'll be a good study for them in the spring. I haven't started working on anything for that, but
Did you just say you've been here 4 years?
no, it will be over 4 years. So I've been here 2.5 years. So
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. I was just like,
no, I'm saying it's a 4-year process. So, no,
I knew you. I was like, that's
it's been about
where's the
2.5.
time going?
We're not getting any younger.
No.
So-
We are not getting any younger.
No, I know. All right, next one, Daniel. No, the time has flown. It doesn't feel like it's been 2.5 years, but it has. So, and then the final study for the year will be summer study Psalms. Which can you tell that I'm a planner in the fact that I planned out I literally have every single week's lesson. Like I haven't written the lesson, but I have every single the text assigned and the leader assigned through August of 2021. So, but that's how I act. So, but anyway, so summer studies will be less formal look at select psalms. Oh, and by the way, for the Christian ethics, so it's not just going to be me. We're actually going to allow a bunch of other leaders to kind of have a time to do different ones, and so probably I'll talk to George and Nicole and Ethan and probably John a little bit on that to kind of involve them as well. And Pastor Paul probably will do one of them at some point. So, but the Psalms, we're just kind of, I think less formal is important for the summer. We try to make it kind of, even the senior high is just more of a Bible study, we're sitting down, we're not, doing a PowerPoint or anything. And part of that is just, we know how busy summers can get and how, people can go away for a couple weeks for vacations and I think Psalms is actually really perfect for us because we can just kind of do select ones and it won't just be random. Actually, I'm going to try to have us cover, there's a variety of different types of Psalms if you didn't know, and we're going to kind of cover the variety of different Psalms over that. So, and so we're probably mostly going to be separate, I hope so. But the reality is there might be a summer, there are summer weeks where we get half the people that we normally get, and when that happens, we can combine, or if we're really low on volunteers, it's really easy to work with that. So, and I think this will really help the teens to grow to know God personally. I just love how personal and intensely, really wrestling with God involved in those Psalms. So, any questions on the Psalms studies? Go ahead. Sunday school, take it down the whole thing. So, okay. So I clearly wrote this as before we knew that COVID was going to continue to affect the fall. So, so Sunday school, I was hoping that even until recently to have Sunday school back in person. We're not going to for a while. Eventually we will. And so when we do come back, it's going to be the same locations, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Probably, maybe the service gets moved to a time, I don't know. Probably 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And our goal was to start with kind of big questions, study to Electric Boogaloo. I didn't say Electric Boogaloo, I'm just being silly. Anyway, and so we're kind of the questions they submitted. And instead of that, we're going to actually, until we can meet in person, probably take those questions that they submitted. And instead of doing a 45-minute us all together discussion on it, we're going to kind of do a series of 15 minutes. Like every week, there's a 15-minute YouTube video, and most of those I'm going to make. And Miss Nicole's going to handle a couple. I've got we're going to so some of these, like I was going to have 1 week on how we know what Bible translation to pick. What's the right Bible translation? Because somebody was asking about that, and it relates to King James. Instead of 1 week on that, there's 4 15-minute videos that I'm doing that will be posted once a week, and then there'll be another series, and then there'll be another until we probably meet in person. Eventually, the senior high will study the book of Hebrews. That was actually picked by Beyond Expectations. Then the junior high will do something different, but usually Nicole has picked in the past some of the things, but typically I trust our junior high leaders to kind of pick something.
I think we know that whenever we can, we want to pick up and finish our study of John.
Okay, yeah. All right, next one, Daniel.
Oh, come on. It's frozen.
The storm's here too.
Pros.
The mouse won't let me move, like I can't.
Okay. Well,
This is why we got the different computers.
okay, I'm gonna pull up the slide on my phone then. And so, but I know that the next one is going through some of the events. And there's something inaccurate, while you work on that, there's something inaccurate actually on it because of COVID again. And anyway, so we're going to change things up. We've done an all-nighter for a long time, and there's a lot of reasons why, but we've decided that instead of doing an all-nighter, our kind of fall thing, or probably spring now this year, will be doing a late-nighter. And
Woo!
Yeah.
So much better.
Anyway, and so
Because all-nighters, it just gives you more problems.
Yes,
Oh,
it
yeah.
does.
You gotta watch those kids longer.
yeah, and there's clearly there's a lot of reasons, as you guys can figure out why. If you can get that going, please get that going. But
There's nothing moving on my computer. Everything's completely frozen.
Okay. we'll just wait on it to see what happens, so. Anyway, so the fall events, so the late night, or how it was gonna work was we got a really lousy computer for Danielle for Christmas one time, so. A great Christmas present, so.
Merry Christmas, Danielle, Merry Christmas.
How the late nighter was gonna go was we were going to start, at like right after school gets out. And they don't have to be here then. They can be here like, it's gonna go to about midnight. And then they can be picked up early if you organize. You have to let us know if they're gonna come late or be picked up early. And so it's just gonna be kind of, you come for fun, even if you come for a couple hours. You come for that. And so we'll serve them dinner and everything for that. And realistically, like honestly, we cut 3 hours of it out. But that 3 hours is not, it's a lot of that 3 hours is watching a movie or, playing video games, and they can do that on their own. And honestly, if like any of you guys, if any of your teens you watching or those here, if any of your teens wants to have people over for, sleep over after that, that's cool. If they want to have their friends. But we're just not going to have it as an official church thing. It's not an official church event when you have a sleepover, and it's not going to be for that. So, but we'll probably try to rent an inflatable type thing. Our goal was to do that in October, and I'll email you this PowerPoint since it's not, working the way that it should have. But we are going to probably move that to the spring. And because I just don't see how we can do that with limited capacity right now with 6 feet distancing if we get, a lot of friends or that kind of thing. It's a bummer. I really wanted to do it in the fall, but probably not. So in the fall, in September, we have scheduled a movie night, the Captain America, as you guys know. And I think we'll probably watch the rest of the Captain America movies at some point during the year. On October, the BE is going to decide what we're going to do October 9th on Sunday. So probably we're going to do a board game night. What?
The BE?
The BE, Beyond Expectations.
Ah, okay.
BE, Beyond Expectations.
All right.
So, yeah, so they like, I don't let them pick, like, I'm not going to tell them, they don't get to decide what the Bible means for our interpretation of it, but like, I really feel like I don't really care that much what events happen, as long as their kids are engaged with it, having fun. So I generally come to a point where more or less for 70% of the events, the Beyond Expectations group just picks what it is and I fund it, or organize it. So, which works well because then it becomes, they have an ownership of it. So, and October probably they want to have a board game night, but we'll decide that Sunday. And November 13th, I have an escape room scheduled, but we will see if escape rooms are even open in November. So one thing I do know that's pretty confident going to happen is December 11th. These are all second Fridays, by the way. We always have our events second Fridays. It'll be our youth Christmas party, and so that's kind of a big, we'll provide a meal, and I'll figure out a way to do that. I don't know how we're going to do that, but I'll find a way to do that safely. And then on January 8th through 10th, will be a retreat if their Skycroft is open for the retreats, which is Reboot. And I strongly want to encourage you guys to sign up for that. Typically we have signups by this point. However, because of COVID, again, we don't. And then February 12th, I have a mall video game. There's a mall video game place. And I thought that could be fun for them, but again, if BE decides otherwise, that's fine. And then March 12th, I have a girls and guys night. So the girls on March 12th will be doing a paint night, probably with Heather Woodburn this time. I'm going to do every other year Heather Woodburn and every other year Deb Thompson if they're available at the time. And the guys will go bowling if they're up for it. So, and then on April 9th, laser tag. May 15th is mini golf and pizza. And June 11th, we typically do the second Friday in June, a youth suggestion, and we will confirm with you guys before we, to put anything on there. We're not going to have a knife throwing competition, so, I don't know.
Why not?
Axe throwing is the new
You won't
Yeah.
family.
It is axe throwing.
That's true. There's an axe throwing. I'm not saying, yeah, but we're not going to throw knives at each other.
That's good.
So then, July
go home.
5th through 10th. What's up?
Nothing.
July 5th through 10th is Fuge, and that's our summer missions trip. So for those who don't know, maybe watching on, we're going to go to Philadelphia and do like a summer mission / also kind of like a retreat week. So it's a really good week. Last time we had to cancel because COVID, but they're excited and they're planning to go ahead and go back to Philadelphia. Go ahead.
Chloe could not stop talking about Fusion Home.
Really?
Yeah.
I really love
It
Fusion.
was, I think, she even said that she appreciated the Fusion Home even more than the one going to Philly because she felt like she was making an impact on her community.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Instead of like going somewhere else and making an impact on someone else's community, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, I think our church was the only one I knew of that did it a whole day like that, and I understood why most of the churches, when they canceled, did a half day thing. Because that was bad. It was a lot, but it was good. I'm really glad we did
Yeah.
it. So. It was a good week. So the kids were all dead too, but and then August 12th, I've got a schedule to go whitewater rafting, Lord willing. So anyway, so that's kind of all the events. Any questions on the events or activities or anything like that? Any questions at all about Area 51 right now? About 2020, 2021 for Area 51. Okay, well the last slide has some contact information. And I'll include it, even though I know all of those that are here have this, you might be watching from home and might not have this. So if you want to reach out to the youth ministry, email us at area51ffc@gmail.com. That's the easiest way. Typically when a parent responds to that, it goes directly to my Our Faith Family email address. I tend to respond to my Our Faith Family, even though it confuses people, I know, but it is what it is. So, and if you have not given your email address and you have a teen that wants to go to youth, send me your email address. You guys obviously have given me your email addresses, hence you wouldn't be here if otherwise. So, and then we have black binders that we'll be putting back in place when COVID allows us to for signups, and we have sign-up sheets on the new board that Miss Nicole led up organizing, and we did during Future from Home. So there's signups for any of those events. The earlier teens sign up, the better. And as all things, as we know, and that's really helpful, even though it doesn't happen a lot. So, and then we're Area 51 on Facebook, Area 51 FFC on Instagram. If you guys if any of you guys have Instagrams, follow us on Instagram. We could use more followers on Instagram. We're the same thing on Twitter as well. And we try to communicate mostly through Instagram, but we need to put more stuff on Facebook as well. Also to make you aware, we have a website. It's ourfaithfamily.com/area51, which would be a lot easier if my wife's computer were working better and we could just see it right on the screen. Well, let's pretend. And that kind of includes a lot of the updates and typical stuff. So that's a great website if you want to refer somebody to check out our youth group. Some family friends want to check it out. And then the last thing, last contact type stuff, I want to encourage you guys to is I actually do a podcast with a buddy that's another family pastor, and just involved in next generation ministry and encouraging parents in their work of discipleship. And it's called Theological Family Ministry. It's on, if you Google Theological Family Ministry podcast, you'll find like 6 different places that house it. But we'd love to have you listen. And if you guys have any ideas on what we could talk about, we'd be happy to talk about anything you guys want to go through on that. So.